open your book to page 156. So this lesson is on graphing the sine and cosine with the vertical and horizontal shift. So let's go over examples, and it's easier to understand as we go over the example. So let's go to page 158 and look at example 1. So you want to graph y equal to 20 cosine of pi x minus pi over 2, and you want to go from -1 to 3. So what you want to do is first you want to get all your information together. So get your A. So this is the A. So here's your A. That's your B. That's your C. So A equal to 20, B equal to pi, and C equal to -pi over 2. And after that, you want to get the other information. So you want to get K. In this case, K equal to 0, right? There's no K. And then from B, you want to go down and you want to figure out the period. So period equal to 2 pi over B. So period equal to 2 pi over pi. So period equal to 2. So the quarter point is 1/4 of that. So divide by 4, so you're going to get 1 over 2. Okay. Then for the C, what you want to do is you need to figure out the shift. Okay, so you need to memorize this formula, and you need to figure out the shift. The shift is equal to -c over B. So period is 2 pi over B. The shift is -c over B. Okay. So again, the S is a shift. So this is the horizontal shift. K is the vertical shift. And this is the horizontal shift. So you're substituting. So S equal to negative. Now watch. Make sure you put a negative on the outside. So it'd be -pi over 2 over B, which is pi. And so S equal to 1/2. Right? You can simplify this off on the side. You can figure it out. Okay. And so those are your critical informations. And then now you have all the information you're going to graph. Now this is kind of the harder way to do this. Now make sure you do your ABC before you do anything else. So after you write down your ABC, another way to get shift is by factoring out the B. So in other words, if you factor out the B, so when you factor out the B, which is pi, so factor out the pi, so this becomes x minus, and so you take out the pi, you get 1/2. And so what you want to do is, the negative is part of your, the format. So this is a shift right over here. Okay, so that's the shift. See that? Okay, so do not including the negative as your shift. So if this is a plus, then you need to break the plus into minus minus. So that way your shift will be correct. Okay, so now you have all the information. Now you're going to graph. Okay, so let's go and switch over to the graph. So what you want to do is you want to use a pencil to start. So normally cosine starts right over here, right? And that's your, so this is the shift. This is the value for shift, and this is the value for K. Okay. Now when you don't have a shift, you don't have a K, and that's the 0, 0, then that's everything's fine, right? But now if you have a K or you have the S, then the thing's going to change. So again, this line, the crosshair, is the value of the K and the S. So that means the S is 1/2. See that? So that means this is 1/2. Okay, so okay, let me write down here. So that means this is 1/2 right over here, and this is 0 right over here. So horizontal, so this line is good already because the K equal to 0, so we don't have to shift up and down. But horizontal is 1/2. Okay, so you have to look for the 0. You have to figure out where the 0 is. So you use a Q to label all your numbers, right? So Q is 1/2. So that means this would be 2 over 2, 3 over 2, and if you go backward, this would be the 0. Okay, let's get rid of let's move this out of here. So again, you have to kind of think, okay, and figure out. So this would be 0. This would be -1 over 2. So now we know that 0 is over here. So that's where you have to draw your axes. So once you figure out where the axis is supposed to be, then you just go and draw it. Okay? So now we know that this would be right over here. So notice it started as cosine, but cosine graph, when you shift, it looks like sine graph, right? If you notice. Okay. And so once you figure out your axis, then you can label all the stuff. Okay. And so you can continue. So, and this, you want to go from -1 to 3. So you have to label one more. So -2 over 2. So 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? And vertically, this would be 20, and you go down -20, okay? And that's your graph. So same idea as the last lesson, you know, when you have to figure out the K, but this time you have to figure out the S. Okay? So let's go and do the match problem 1. Let's go to the next one. So let's go to page 159 and do the match problem 1. You want to graph y equal to -5 sine of x over 2 plus pi over 2. So again, first let's get the ABC before we start to do the factoring. So a equal to 5. Now remember, it's absolute value, right? So a is not -5. So on the test, don't put -5. And remember, a is the absolute value. A is the distance, how much it go up or down. So it's absolute value. This is the distance. Okay, so a equal to 5, b equal to 1/2, and c equal to pi over 2. So again, get your ABC. Then after that, you can get the k below it. The reason I put it in this format because it's easy to remember, right? ABC, right? And then after that, this is a good place to put it because there's a blank space over here. That's why I put a k over here. And from here, you can, from the b, you get a period. So period equal to 2 pi over b. And so period equal to 4 pi. And so q equal to 1/4 of that, so it would be pi, right? And then now from the c, you can figure out the shift. So shift equal to negative c. So negative c over b. So again, it's negative c over b. So the shift equal to negative pi. Another way you can get a shift is from here. By factoring out the 1/2, right? Again, whatever is b, you take it out. And so this becomes minus. Again, remember, I want to put minus, right? So you take out 1/2, it becomes pi, right? And you can double check. 1/2 times x is x over 2. 1/2 times pi is pi over 2. And minus give you plus, right? Again, the reason I put on minus to remind you that you've got to be careful. The negative is part of the form, okay? So you have to do that. So the shift is negative pi, which match, right? So you can do it either way. I'm doing both methods, but you can do either method. That's fine, okay? So again, you can do either method. Sometimes depends on the equation. Sometimes it's easier to do the factoring. Sometimes it's easier to do the division. So it depends on the equation. So you can do it either method. Okay, so now you have all the information. Now you're ready to do the graphing. So let's go and do the graph. Okay, to avoid confusion, I'm going to do it right on. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to do it on here. Okay, so this is page 159, the match problem 1. Okay, so again, use a pencil to kind of get it started. Okay, so sine normally starts over here, right? But because it's a negative, so you get flipped upside down. So it will be start right over here, right? And your starting point would be the value. We have the value of the s, right? And the shift is negative pi, so that means this is a negative pi right over here. And the q is pi, so that means this would be the 0, this would be the pi, this would be 2 pi, and so forth. Okay. And we forgot the boundary. We want to go from negative 3 pi to 5 pi. Okay, so once we find out where the 0 is right over here. So let's go and draw that. And there's no k equal to 0, so that means this is right over here. Okay, so once we get that, then we can continue, we can erase this line over here, right? Again, that's just a temporary line to help you to figure out where the axis is supposed to be. So once you do that, go and finish up the labeling. So negative pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi, and this would be 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, right? Again, you have to follow these. Now you have to label the vertical. Is the A is 5, so you go across, so that's 5, and this is negative 5, and that's it, finish. Okay? So this is the one with the C and the shift. Now let's go to example 2. Now example 2 has more stuff. This is the one with everything. So on page 160, example 2, you want to graph y equal to 10 plus 20 cosine of pi x minus pi over 2. Again, when things get complicated, what you need to do is relax, don't panic, just go through step by step, work it out, and you will be okay. Okay? But when your mind starts to panic and you start to going all over the place, and you're going to get confused and get stuck. Okay? So just learn the technique and just go through like what I'm doing, step by step, and you will be okay. And so again, let's get our ABC, get all our information. And notice I leave a space over here so I can do factoring, right? So A equal to 20, right? So that's A. B is equal to pi. C equal to negative pi over 2. So K is 10, right? This is K is 10. And period equal to 2 pi over B. So period equal to 2. And the Q is 1/4 of that, so it's 1/2. The shift equal to negative, now you have to watch, right? It's negative C over B. So the shift become positive 1/2. Okay, again, you can work it out. What you do is to simplify these, you multiply by common denominator, right? And so this cancel out, and so you got pi over 2 pi, which you give you pi cancel out, so you got 1/2. So you can figure that part out, okay? Or it's easier for me to do the factoring. So again, whatever you have over here, you factor it out, right? So factor out the pi, so you got x. So you factor out the pi, you end up with minus 1/2, okay? And so this would be my shift. Again, this should match. If you want to be safe, do both methods and see if they match. Right? That would be the best thing to do, right? That way you will make sure that you got it right when both of them match. Okay, so now let's go ahead and graph this one. Okay, so this is cosine. So normally cosine starts over here and starts over here, right? Now again, remember this is the value of the S. This is the value of K. So you have to figure out both directions now. Okay, so that's going to figure out this first. Okay, so S. So this is 1/2, and the Q is 1/2. So this would be 2 over 2, and this would be 0. So we know that this would be. So we know that this is going to be over here. So we got the vertical right over here. So let's take care of that first. Okay. So now let's take care of the vertical, okay, the K. So the K over here is 10, right? And the A is 20, so you go up 20, so this would be 30. You go down 20, this would be negative 10. So your value would be halfway in between, okay? So your value would be right over here, in between, right over here. That's where the 0 is. So now we can erase this temporary line. Okay, and let's go and do all this labeling. So from here, we're going to get 0. This point would be 1/2. Oh wait, be careful. You have to be careful. You have to line up with the critical point on top. So it's not going to be right over here. It's lined up with that, so it's right over here. Over here, again, line up with the top, so it's right over here, with here, right? Okay, so 1/2 2 over 2, 3 over 2, 4 over 2, 5 over 2, and the last one is 6 over 2 over here, right? We have to get to the 3. When you go backward, you have to go to -1, so it'll be right over here, so it'll be -1/2, and this one right over here, be -2 over 2. And that's everything, okay? So again, remember, the S and the K are the value at your initial point. Then from there, you have to figure out where the 0 is this way and figure out where the 0 is on that way. Okay? Okay, let's go and do the match problem 2. So do the match problem 2. You want the graph y equal to -2 minus 5 sine of x over 2 plus pi over 2, and you want to go from -3 pi to 5 pi. So again, let's get the ABC. So A equal to 5, B equal to 1/2, C equal to pi over 2, and K equal to -2, period equal to 2 pi over B, so period equal to 4 pi, so Q 1/4 of that equal to pi. Then over here, S equal to -C over B, so S equal to -pi. Okay, so that's all the information. So now let's go and do the graphing. Oh, I forgot to label this. This is page 160, example 2. Okay, so this is page 160, the match problem 2. Okay, so this is the sine graph. So normally sine starts over here, but because it's negative, so it will start right over here instead. Okay, and then so this will be starting value. So the shift, the S is -pi, so this is -pi, and Q is pi, so this will give you the 0, this will give you the pi. So from there, we can see that the axes will be right on here. Okay, so that's going to get this line first. Again, always do this first. Okay, now that's going to take care of the K. So we can erase this part now. Okay, now for K, again, remember this is the K, right? So K is -2, and A is 5. So when you go up 5, this would be the 3. When you go down 5, this would be the, when you go down 5, this would be -7. Let's erase a little bit better. Okay, and remember what I said, right? When A equal to 5, you need to divide this into 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And that will give you the 0 right over here. Okay? So again, if A is 5, divide into 5. Okay? And once you find your K, you're in good shape. Now you're ready to label the rest of the stuff. So you already have the 3, you have the -7, and rest of them. So then you have to switch over, you have to label right on the purple line. Okay? So this is -pi. So that's going to erase this, because that is not really the line you need to label. Okay? So just a temporary, right? So here just 0, pi, 2 pi, and the purple line. Again, it's not this point. Okay? Be careful, it's not this point, it's this point. You have to line up with this point. So you go straight up, and this would be 3 pi, and you have to go to 5 pi, so 4 pi, and again from here it would be right over here. Again, it's not that point on the graph. It's this. You have to line up with this point right over here. Okay, everybody see that, right? So this would be 5 pi, and you have to go to -3 pi. So this is -pi, -2 pi, and right over here would be -3 pi. Okay. And so that is a graph. Okay. So let's go and do some practice.